Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is March 15th, the 15th day of the Leetcode March challenge. Ides of March, yay, scary. Hope everyone's having a great March. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Join me on Discord. Let me know what you think about today's prompt. Uncode and decode TinyURL. So you might notice that I actually my sound looks out of sync. It's because for some reason the sound didn't record. I have to reboot my computer to do it. My apologies. But I'm going to be able to talk about this problem because so this is going to be my running commentary. But what I talked about here, to be honest, is just that I think this is a terrible Leetcode problem, to be honest. So you didn't really miss that much. What I said was that this is a system design problem, and there's a link to it, and I agree with that. This is a big system design question, and I do get a lot of questions about whether I'm going to do a system design video. I might get to it someday, but leave in the comments. Let me know what you think about system design videos because we can do it as well. There are a lot of those videos on the internet, but I think doing it live is kind of maybe a little bit more interesting, but maybe not. I don't know. Let me know about your perspective. But for this problem, as I mostly talked about how uninteresting it is because there's a lot of nuances to system design that makes it an interesting system design problem, including generating the unique UID, how to store it in database, what are the routing like, what is the read-write behavior pattern of the system, and this code is going to be a little bit dubious, so I don't know. And also, I think at this point or close to it, I make a comment about how there's no constructor for this, so I have to write a constructor. You'll see it in a minute, maybe, I don't know. But basically, and this is going to, this is a weird problem as a result because it is a system design problem, and how I would write it is just use any database. It doesn't really matter for the most part, as long as it could handle reasonable scaling. It doesn't have to be even internet scale or big internet scale anyway. All you have to the key thing to have in this part is just a distributed cache, because it's going to be very read heavy, and you only write once for each ID unless you want to support editing. And so you would have a read through distributed cache or something, and if you want something to look up, look up Redis or something or Memcache or something like that, just to play around. And on that note, for system design, my advice in general is to just practice. There's really no way about it. If you're junior, it's not a key component of your interview generally. If you're senior, then the people who know all these things, they've made the mistakes before. I know that there are a couple of good books, even, to be honest. I always recommend designing data intensive applications. But that said, trivia is not the same as system design, and memorizing facts is not going to help you with system. It's going to help. Or not memorizing facts, it's just knowing things is going to help. And memorizing facts to get there, it allows you to build components to those things that you might not have exposure to, but you still have to, at the end of the day, practice. You could probably set up one server somewhere and just, start out simple, start out writing like a web service that does one thing, and then slowly and incrementally build on top. Be like, okay, what if I have a billion? Well, a billion's a lot, but let's say I have a lot of traffic. Then how do I do it? How do I break it up so that if one thing fails, another thing will be okay? And then build resiliency for chaos monkey. Like, okay, if this thing fails, then how do I duplicate it? And how do I make this in a way such that now we have parallelism? How do we scale that horizontally? So those are things that I would ask myself and also think about it. And in this case, as I mentioned, because it's going to be really read heavy generally, and write could be often, but not that often per ID. So it's going to be distributed cache is basically the key holding all this thing together. And you could go up and down the system architecture to talk about it if you like. But for this particular problem, my code is terrible. I don't recommend using this as a template for anything, to be honest. I think I even mentioned this on the original video where I was like, okay, I'm having a crappy solution for a crappy question, so don't try it at home, but don't use my code as a reference. It's terrible, and I'm gonna make silly mistakes here for a little bit because it's just not like it's not educational for me, so that's why I didn't really focus on the coding part. So what I'm talking about now may be even more important for sure. But yeah, at the end of the day, system design is about testing your experience and just figuring out whether whether you have those experiences and know how to solve problems that come up in real life. And part of that it goes to just having that experience of seeing things before and making the same mistakes. Because a senior engineer, at the end of the day, is just someone who made a lot of mistakes in their past and able to learn from it. And system design, the core part of system design is not necessarily knowing the answer, though that is obviously helpful, but it's actually knowing about what questions to ask. And at a certain level, only like experience is going to tell you what to what kind of questions to ask. Of course, you should still seek to learn and do research, but I think like getting hands-on on system design is probably the most effective way to learn. I think that's all I have. Yeah. If you like what I'm talking about here, let me know in the comments with respect to system design. I hope y'all have a great rest of March. Stay good, stay healthy, to good mental health, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye bye.